So it's time to talk about two of the most mysterious cars when it comes to Gran Turismo 7. Of course, I'm speaking about the two Xiaomi vehicles which were announced in June of 2025 and at least up to the Spec 3 update have still not arrived. But before we get into this video, I'm trying to get this channel to 70,000 subscribers. So if you want to stay up to date with everything GT7 and motorsport gaming related, then feel free to leave a like, subscribe and turn your notifications on. Now I do want to make a quick little disclaimer before I actually get into the video that I'm currently out the country. So I'm making this on the week of the Spec 3 update. And of course, we already know that the two Xiaomi cars are not going to be part of it. Now, there is a chance actually that when the Gran Turismo World Series finals in Japan brings along its viewers campaign and predict the winners campaign, that both of these cars could be prize cars. Now, of course, they might be entirely different rewards, but again, I just wanted to make mention of this in case it does become outdated whilst I'm not around to actually update this video. So let's take the clock back then to June of 2025, and it's the first round of the Gran Turismo World Series for 2025 in London, which of course means that some type of announcement will more than likely be made. Now, I was actually at this event in person thanks to Sony UK for actually sending me out there, and I remember taking my seat and thinking, well, we're off the back of a pretty weak start to 2025 with many weird and random cars actually arriving to Gran Turismo 7. So I took my seat, and I think many other people did as well, expecting Polyphony to announce something huge. And in a sense, we did actually get that. Now, this came in the form of the first official collaboration announcement between Polyphony and a Chinese manufacturer in the form of Xiaomi. Now, of course, this is a pretty big deal as that's an entire market that Gran Turismo has never tapped into. And of course, on the other hand, an official collaboration between a car manufacturer and of course Polyphony once again continues to strengthen relationships there. So two Xiaomi models were announced during this collaboration, the first being the real-world SU7 Ultra, which of course is a Nürburgring record breaker, and Kaz has driven it himself. It makes 1500 brake horsepower, has a top speed of 217 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of under 2 seconds in a car that looks like it's made more for comfort than sheer speed, but that's really not the case here. It does both. Now, the second model that was announced would be the Xiaomi Vision Gran Turismo. Of course, a collaboration between the Vision Gran Turismo program and real-world manufacturers. This time around, of course, it would be Xiaomi. Now, we didn't really get a look at this car other than it under a cover in a rendered form, which is unfortunate because since then there's been absolutely nothing on it and we still don't know officially what it looks like. Now, of course, there is the image of the sort of art project version of the VGT, but that's just that, an art project and nothing official. So then let's talk about what makes both of these cars pretty mysterious then. Well, I think it's quite obvious at this point. That announcement was all the way back in June, and here we are in December 2025, and both cars are yet to appear and are not appearing as part of the Spec 3 update. Now, more often than not, when Polyphony do announce these collaborations, it means that the models of cars that they mention are pretty much ready to go. And I think most people, myself included, expected the SU7 Ultra to probably arrive at the end of June with another new update. And of course, more than likely, the Vision Gran Turismo might come a few months later with a bit more information in September at round 2 of the World Series, and then of course an official release at the end of that month. So the end of June rolls around and we do indeed get a brand new update. This was 1.60 and it included 3 new cars being added to the game, and these were the Citroen BX, the Peugeot SUV and the Lancia Delta rally car, and of course no sign of the SU7 Ultra. So whilst the SU7 was not present in the 1.60 update, we did get a glimpse at the first signs of the collaboration between Xiaomi and Polyphony, and this was actually at the Nordschleife, with the official Xiaomi SU7 Ultra banner now being in place. And well, at least up until December of 2025, it does still remain there at the Nordschleife. After this, it was the 1.61 update in July, and once again, no sign of the SU7 Ultra and no update on the Xiaomi Vision Gran Turismo. We then headed into August, and at this start of the month, we had our second official collaboration. This time around, it was Corvette and Polyphony, with the announcement of the CX and the CXR, and the game then would update at the end of August to 1.62, and both of these Corvettes had arrived, but once again, still no sign of the Xiaomi collaboration. We then go into the third month after the announcement, and of course this would be the second round of the Gran Turismo World Series in Berlin, and we did get more news. However, this time around it was in the form of a new tyre supply for the game in the form of Dunlop. But once again, there was no news whatsoever on any of the Xiaomi cars, including the Xiaomi Vision Gran Turismo. But outside the actual venue itself for the World Series, another Xiaomi SU7 was spotted. Although this was pretty much indirect, it did still pretty much confirm that the collaboration between Xiaomi and PD was still on. And then at the end of September, it would be the final update prior to the massive Spec 3 update. Of course, this would be 1.63, and well, you probably guessed it at this point, none of the Xiaomi cars were there once again. And well, only a day after that, we would have official confirmation of a Spec 3 update arriving in December to round out GT7 for the year of 2025. And we had a bunch of screenshots, but once again, none of the Xiaomi cars were included in these, but 4 new cars were officially announced as coming to the game. And as time ticked on and more news came out about Spec 3, it was very obvious in the end as to this week that these cars were not appearing in that update. It's just rather quite bizarre. This was the first official collaboration announced between Polyphony and a manufacturer in 2025, and well, it turns out none of those cars would be arriving this year. In that time, we had the Corvette collaboration, which both of those cars arrived in August, the Opel collaboration arriving in September, and of course, to finish off the year, the Polestar collaboration arriving alongside Spec 3. So what's happening with the 2 mysterious Xiaomi cars then? Well, I do have a couple of theories. So of course, the first theory, well, this video is being made prior to the official announcement of a viewers campaign for the World Finals in Japan. Of course, the viewers campaign does give gift cards to players who go ahead and watch the live streams. Now, on one theory, I would expect to see both the Xiaomi cars actually take a reward place for both the manufacturers and Nations Cup, of course, one for each. Now, if this was to be the case, more than likely both of these cards would not appear in 2025 and will more than likely appear at the end of January, as these viewers rewards typically do, alongside another Gran Turismo 7 update. Now, my second theory here is a bit more far-fetched, however it does make total sense. Now, of course, the 2 Xiaomi cars were announcing the manufacturer being the first official Chinese manufacturer to Gran Turismo, and well, since then, at the official launch of the PS5 Pro in China, we had the announcement of the U9 Extreme coming in a future update to GT7. Well, what if, now being able to tap into the Chinese market, they decided to do a Chinese themed pack with, of course, the Xiaomi SU7 Ultra, the Vision Gran Turismo, and the U9 Extreme coming as a single bunch of cars in an update. And well, maybe, just maybe, they are holding them back to release something much bigger alongside them. One thing that Kaz did note in his interview with Xiaomi, when of course they were announcing the collaboration, was that he wanted to bring Chinese tracks to Gran Turismo 7. Most notably, one of those tracks that we saw with the U9 Extreme was Shanghai. So what if they do a Chinese themed pack with the 3 cars and of course a Chinese track? It's a massive far-fetched possibility, but again, that's what theories are all about. Now, I feel like this would be pretty solid for a couple of reasons. Number one, it does explain what seems to be a huge delay in those original Xiaomi cars, but also the second is that it does allow Polyphony to tap into the massive Chinese market. Of course, a single update with 3 Chinese cars and a Chinese track is certainly going to appeal to them and of course sell more copies. So there we go then, 6 months later and still both of these Xiaomi cars remain a mystery. So what do you think's happening? Do you think we'll even still see the cars, or do you reckon Polyphony is planning something a little bigger? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys, peace.